Hello and welcome to episode 2 of my CBR1000RR journey. In today's episode, we are going to be performing the first maintenance service like the oil change and clean and lube the chain. Also, we are going to start the teardown to remove some restrictions that these bikes have. Let's get to it. This place looks like booty. Time to clean up. I thought I lost this thing. I'm glad I found it. It's been sitting here for the past 3 years. This was supposed to start the channel. I bought the car 3 years ago. I recorded tons of hours of footage, me taking the motor out, and then call it user error. I lost all the footage, lost all motivation to work on it, and it's been sitting here ever since. But now that we have the motivation back, we're just gonna move it to the side. Since I do live in the Midwest, I only get a couple of months to enjoy the motorcycle. So once we put the motorcycle in storage, we will be tackling this beast. But let's get it to the side, get the motorcycle in the stance so we can start tearing it up. To take off the lower portion of the fairings, you will need a 3 and a 5 size Allen.
Come on.
Now that we have the lower fairings off, let's give you a little cold start and warm up the bike before we drain the oil. Now that the oil is warmed up, we're going to put a drain pan underneath it and start draining. You will need a size 12. Jesus, this does not need to be this tight. Well, drastic measures.
Come on. This is way too tight than it needs to be. There he goes.
I wonder what the oil filter looks like. Let's open it up. So we have about 750 miles on this oil filter. It's the first oil change, so let's see what we can find inside. I really don't see anything disturbing. It's kind of tough to take it apart with these two, but I'm not seeing anything. There are some metal shavings, but that's expected with a brand new motor. This is the part number for the new oil filter. And make sure they give you a new crush washer. Torque down to 30 Newton meters or 22 foot-pounds. Now, since we are installing some go fast bits, I'm gonna remove this fairing as well. So now that we removed this side fairing, we have a lot more room to put the oil filter on. Before we put the oil filter on, you want to make sure you put a nice coat of oil on the O-ring. Also, what I like to do is I like to put some oil in the oil filter before I put it on the bike. And with that, I can just take and just lubricate it. It does not need to be tight as it was from the factory. Hand tight. That's all you need. So the specifications call for 2.5 liters if it's only drained, 2.7 liters or 2.9 quarts after oil filter change and drain, and 3.4 liters if the engine is disassembled. So I put some in the oil filter. I am just going to start putting 2 quarts in there and a little bit of the third one, and then we'll just measure it. I am putting the 10W30 HP4S in there, the fully synthetic oil. Some people say it might not be necessary on these engines to go full synthetic brand new, but this is just my preference. So that's 2.7 quarts right now. Start the bike up, let it run for a couple of seconds, and then get it measured. Luckily, Honda gave us a dipstick so we can get the initial measurement. I just ran the bike for a couple of minutes. Right on the money, 2.7 liters. With the oil change out of the way, we can focus on getting the ECU out now. With the fairings out of the way, the tank has to come off too because the connectors are located somewhere right here. So this has to be removed. The only thing holding the tank in is 2 bolts on this side and the same thing on the other side. So with the tank out of the way, there's 2 Phillips screws to take this bracket off. Damn, did they glue these in there? With the ECU shipped out over to Paul at KCS ECU Solutions, we are moving on to the next modification, which my neighbors are going to absolutely love. One of the biggest restrictions that these bikes have is the exhaust system. We'll be upgrading this with a Krapovich stainless steel headers and an SC Project slip-on. So here's the mock-up of what the exhaust is going to look like on the bike. We have the SC CRT exhaust, full titanium from SC Project, and unfortunately Krapovich discontinued their full titanium headers, but we went with the next best thing as the stainless steel from Krapovich, which should give us pretty decent performance gains. Let's get it installed. The only thing that's holding it up is the servo motor wires. There's 2 10mm bolts that hold the top plate on. Once we get the top plate off, we can manipulate the wires out of there.
I need to invest in one of those motorcycle lifts. Do they even use torque specifications at Honda?
So here's the real tricky part. There's a bracket that goes on the radiator to the block. You have to remove, and then it'll allow some of the radiator to move back and forth and allow you to take off the manifold fasteners. Be real careful not to damage the radiator.
damage the radiator.
Woo! Now with the exhaust out of the way, let's remove the servo motor that controls the flap on the exhaust. It's hidden somewhere underneath this plastic. And servo motor is out. Let's just put the plastic back in, and that's it. So now we're gonna go back just in reverse order, the way we took the exhaust off. We're gonna put it back on. So first is headers, but don't forget to get brand new exhaust gaskets. Do not reuse the old ones. This is the part number for new exhaust gaskets. First thing what you wanna do is take this adapter, put the provided clamp on there, and grab the exhaust gasket. And then pretty much you're gonna guide it carefully and grab your stock fasteners and thread them just enough to keep the gasket. Do not tighten anything down. Make sure everything's still loose. And you do that for all 4 cylinders. And then one by one, you put your headers in. Okay, looks like it's going to be much easier if I insert these springs into the headers now. Now with the headers installed, move to the mid pipe. So, little issue. On the stock header, O2 sensor location is on the left side, as you can see. On the Akrapovich, it's on the right-hand side. So the wiring is too short for the O2 sensor to route over here, the way it is routed currently. I will post a picture up here, courtesy of Paul at KCS ECU Tuning, on the way you can reroute it and have it reach over here. I will do that at a later time, but I am just going to move on and put the pipe on so I can start tightening everything together. Unless your tuner tuned the O2 sensor out, you can just put a bolt with a washer in here and call it a day and remove the O2 sensor. But if you're in a mission compliant state, make sure you put the O2 sensor in there. Hardware included. It does not have any torque specifications, so we're just going to get her good and tight. Now with the exhaust in place, I'm going to start tightening everything from the exhaust flanges on backwards. The exhaust flange bolts are 22 Newton meters or 16 foot-pounds. Now it's going to be really tough getting that torque wrench in there, so I'm just going to do it snug. Akrapovich provides hardware for the exhaust hanger here in the middle. Recommended torque 22 Newton meters or 16 foot-pounds. forgot to put this bracket back on. And with that, the exhaust is done. Now with the neighborhood-friendly modification out of the way, we're ready to get rid of this hideous thing. And for that, we have the Yoshi Fender Eliminator kit. So the kit includes the mounting plate for the side markers, license plate light, and license plate frame. But trying to fit the license plate in the license plate frame is not working out, so we're just gonna leave the license plate frame out of the way. Now with the fender off, we have to take the turn signals out. That means disassembling this whole thing. Blue is for the right, orange for the left turn signal. So my battery ran out and I forgot to push record button, but we got the Fender Eliminator kit on there. Now let's button everything back up. It is looking so much better. So while we were putting on the Fender Eliminator kit, the mailman showed up and brought me the ECU with some extra goodies. But to install the goodies, the Airbox has to come apart. First thing to go is the air filter. Number 2. With the air filter, I had to get the velocity stacks. I got the European version once. Let's get them installed. I'm gonna throw a picture up there to show you the difference. The European specs are much wider, means more airflow, more power. The short one goes in the back, and 2 long ones go in the front. Now with the high flow air filter, the stacks, and ECU back on the bike, the only thing remaining is put the fuel tank on and fire it up. But unfortunately, I'll have to disappoint my neighbors. I won't be waking them up at 2 a.m. And they'll have to wait until the next episodes where we reassemble the remaining bits and pieces and take her out for her first ride after the modifications. And on that huge disappointment, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.